What's up, Devy peoples? It's EK. We got a fire show for you tonight, as always. And man, Kyle is riding co-pilot, and we got a really special guest, JT. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, good to be back with you guys. It's been a while, but it's nice to be on the show.
Yeah, what do you got going on, man? What do you got cooking? What do you got to plug for the peeps tonight?
Oh, a million things. I'll try to make it quick. You can get me on X at JT Orange. I'm on the Dynasty Pros football channel, YouTube, Spotify, all that stuff. I do a Devy show every Tuesday on there. We do a show every Thursday night, jumping on there after this. I also do my Stew with JT Brew. We do a little breakdown, a fantasy breakdown. Then I also do a college football and NFL football games of the week, lines, prop bets, all that good stuff. So jump on, check that out. Everything's on X, go there, but you can get on Spotify, all that stuff. And if you're an IDP guy, I have my rankings on DLF, and then also I write a Wednesday article for Fantrax on IDP every week. So try to get it out.
Damn, dude. Yeah, you're not kidding when you said a lot. Wow. Might be the hardest working man in fantasy right now. Oh, we appreciate you prying an hour. Yeah, appreciate you prying away an hour to come hang out with me and Kyle. Kyle, you fired up to argue about some quarterbacks, my man?
Yeah, I'm making sure I know all the points I need to make because spotted the list before we started, and I already see where I'm gonna get lambasted here.
Clearly, we approach this slightly differently. I'm just firing from the hip. That's what I do. So, yeah, tonight we got some cool content. We're continuing with our in-season stuff with some start sit. But first, we're going to bring one of our core segments, and where we're going to talk about the top 10 Devy quarterbacks. When we do this, it tends to trickle into the top 10 to 20 Devy quarterbacks because we all have pretty different lists that we want to get to. But we'll try to just like speed dial the end of it. So, gentlemen, who wants to lead off? JT, you're the special guest. You want to take the unanimous 101 in this top 10 quarterback draft?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Caleb Williams, I mean, it's pretty much across the board. Everybody, I don't know if I've seen anyone that hasn't taken Caleb Williams. The guy's just special, just really impressive QB. We've seen college quarterbacks where they can break tackles, they run around, and they make plays. We rarely see guys like him that does that, but also can stand in the pocket, make throws, also run the ball. So he's got a little bit of everything to his game. So he's the man. He's the 101, and everybody's going to be fighting out to get Caleb Williams next year in the NFL draft.
Yeah. What do you got to add to that, Kyle?
Yeah, I think that's all fair. I mean, the arm talent is there. It's incredible. Banks pretty good reads, is good at extending plays. I think the only issue I have with Caleb is he gets a little happy feet back there. Doesn't tend to like to sit in the pocket. Doesn't step up a ton, which you would like to see a little more of. Tends to just run outside. He is really good at extending plays, which works for him, obviously, at the college level. Probably not going to be quite as good at it against, the most athletic defensive lineman in the world. So could work on that a little bit. But other than that, I think he's a pretty dang good prospect.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's plenty of things we can critique about him, but we're picking nits, right? Like he's a baller. You hear the Mahomes comp thrown out there all the time. I only like that in the improvisational ability. I think he's got that same level of creativity. Very different as a rusher. Like he's not as explosive, but he's powerful. He's a big dude, Definitely can flatten some guys in ways that only like Allen and a couple other people can. And man, look at this bomb. Just some beautiful ball placement from him. Yeah, he's got some stuff to work on. So I guess that the wrap up to the Caleb conversation, because there's just not that much to it. Where would you rank him on the dynasty side, on the NFL side, like week 1 of next year? Is he a top 5 quarterback for you? Is he a top 10 quarterback?
For me, he's a top 10 guy. I just think you're going to see value-wise. Now, is he a top 10 quarterback? I don't know right off the bat. But value-wise, you're going to see top 10 value, I think, for sure. And he could be pushing top 5 value. I mean, he's just one of those guys that everybody loves. Now, the biggest issue for him is where does he land? Does he go to Arizona? Do they get the 1-1? And if they do, are they going to figure out that what to do with that organization? Because it is an absolute cluster if I've ever seen one lately.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't want to be in Arizona right now if I were him. Now, could they put a bunch of pieces around him? Because they've shown that they're breaking it all down. Now, can they rebuild? That's the question. They've shown they're breaking it down, but can they rebuild it around him? I don't know. If he's on Arizona, it knocks his value for me just because, like, how many years is it going to take them to be relevant? And can he be really good fantasy-wise on a really bad team? Can he pull an old Deshaun Watson where the Texans were terrible, but he yet put up top 5 finishes every year? It's possible. I think you're going to see that top 5 value come draft time, though. I think people are just going to be so psyched about him.
Yeah. Kyler was good right away, even in a shit show, right?
I think his value will end up in the top 5. I don't think he'll perform like that quickly. And I think personally, I'd probably have him around 7 or 8. But I tend to like the Russian quarterbacks, the Lamars, the Justin Fields. Maybe if we see Anthony Richardson pop off this year, I might have him above him more. So I tend to weight that pretty hard, but that's me.
I had one combo draft I did before the season started, and I took him, I think, before Fields. I think Lawrence was off the board already. That was before we were talking about Richardson going in the first round, right? So, all right, fun discussion on Caleb. Kyle, you want to launch into numero deuce?
Yeah, if I can. Yeah, it is Drake May, the UNC quarterback. Had an excellent season last year, kind of put the team on his back at times. Last year, this North Carolina team was struggling defensively, pretty much let anyone score on them. They seem to have cleaned that up a little bit in the first 2 games. I think they still went to overtime with App State again, like they did last year. And but Drake May just showed some great tools last year. Also a big arm for him, makes good decisions. I think this year he's struggling a little bit more, and he's a guy who's kind of on a downward trend. Doesn't seem to have very much receiver help this season, and is just kind of struggling a little bit more than we wanted him to. But I think he's still firmly number 2 for now until somebody proves enough to usurp him.
What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, for me, very similar. I agree with you. Where I'm worried at is, and whenever you're a school like UNC, you're going to see that talent go up and go down, and it happens quickly. I hate to make the comparison, but I'm going to do it anyway. Sam Howell, perfect example. A guy, he had all the talent around him, put up an unbelievable season. Everybody's talking about him as a first-round pick. The next year, everybody's gone. He's fighting for his life. He's making every play on his own, and the stats just don't match up. And all of a sudden, he's a 5th rounder. Now, I don't think that's going to happen to Drake May. I will say that off the bat. I don't think he's going to drop to the 5th round. But could it be bad enough that he moves back and all of a sudden, instead of 1-2 in NFL drafts, he's like mid-teens? I could see that happening. Now, I could see him maybe 111, 112. I think teams would move up for him. But again, anytime you have this problem where you're not producing a lot, it makes teams and people question you. I think he's got a big arm. I think he's really good. I just worry that he just doesn't have a lot of talent around him, and teams are going to hold that against him this year. That's the only thing I see that knocks him down out of the 1-2 is the talent around him. The NFL goes, we like you. We don't love you. And all of a sudden, he's going in the teens as opposed to a top 5 pick. I mean, if he's a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, he's 1-2 in fantasy for sure. But I like him a ton. He's my 1-2 as well. So I'm not dogging him on that. But that's my worry is because they just do not have the talent around him that's going to hurt him. And does that force him to stay another year? Does he move down draft boards enough where he's like, I need to get another year? Maybe. But again, it's not Texas. It's not Alabama. It's not Georgia. It's not like he's got 5 stars coming in around him at will. So that's my problem with it for him is even if he stays another year, do the players around him get better? I don't know if they do.
Yeah. I feel like unless it really turns into an abyss down there, he's still a first-round pick. I think he's got some traits that are just different than,
I agree. I think he's
first
round all the way. But whether he's top 5 or he's top 15 or he's top 25, that's where I think maybe the issue comes in.
Yeah. Hey, if he stayed one more year, he'd get to play with Devontae Walker.
Maybe if the NCAA gets their head out of their ass.
Oh, brutal. Poor kid, dude. I feel so bad about that. I was like retweeting everyone smashing the NCAA on that one. It was brutal. Yeah, I love the kid, but obviously we're not stoked to see a 200-yard, 0 touchdown performance out of him. I think, for CFF and, competing on the college side, I think we need to rethink where we're at on Drake May because that might be more the rule than the exception this year. But I'm not that worried for Devy yet. We could be having a different conversation in 5 or 6 weeks.
I think if you're playing C2C or if you're playing Devy, I might try to trade Drake May for a young NFL quarterback right now. If I could trade Drake May for Anthony Richardson right now, I'd do it.
You probably can. Like, I'd think really hard about that trade if you offered it to me.
I like it.
Yeah. I don't have a ton of Richardson, but
I don't have any May, so I can't trade him away.
But if we did, we could make a deal.
I actually looked today because I was going to if I had him, but
yeah, super funny. Okay, and I'm kind of surprised that this is our unanimous number 3. I think we all honestly, I didn't think this was really consensus-y at all right now, but I guess I'll lead this one. We all wound up with Drew Allar, true sophomore out of Penn State, as our number 3 Devy quarterback. I know for a fact this is not consensus because I've heard several other people talk about their top 5 since past week and have not heard him mentioned. But for me, it was like, if I'm not sure who the QB3 in this next class is, I'd rather have the QB1 in the next class, right? And we've already seen some real elite traits out of Allar. I mean, I think he's got, an arm talent equivalent to May or Williams. He's got mobility. I think he's got all of those same raw traits, more like May with size than with Williams. I don't think he's that creative or mobile, but I mean, he's young. He's flashed. He's looked awesome so far. And I think he's in a system that's going to support him a little bit better than UNC is supporting May so far. So yeah, man, give me the QB1 in the 2025 class at this point. Where are you guys at on Allar?
He was a highly rated recruit. I mean, for me, he was 1 or 2 in that class. Kind of bounced back between him and Klubnik. So definitely liked him coming out of high school, and he hasn't really proven me wrong any. He's been very efficient, completing 78.2% of his passes this year. Of course, that comes against West Virginia and Delaware, so take that with a grain of salt. But he does look good. He has all the traits that you like to see. Pretty strong arm, stocky, perfect NFL build, really. Just the one thing I really kind of want to see out of him this year as we move forward is a higher ADOT. Right now, his average depth of target is just 5.9 yards past the line of scrimmage. I'd like to see him attack the deeper parts of the field on a more consistent basis, not just thrive because of those short passes. So that's really all I want to see from him to keep him at 3. So.
Yeah, for me, I love Drew Allar. He's my guy in the next class. A lot of people was him or Klubnik. I think at this point in the season, he has absolutely made a gigantic leap ahead of Klubnik. I mean, it's a huge gap now between
That's more
those two.
Klubnik's fault than Alar's, but I agree.
Yeah, I think I think Klubnik's been bad. Now, obviously, the competition for Alar has not been great, but at least the stats have been good. He's looked good. So he always struggles when you're like, hey, they're not playing elite competition. He looks not great against bad competition. That's true. He's looked really good. Now, my big issue with him, I was worried about the Penn State coaching staff. Would they open it up enough to let him throw enough, to let him show kind of his abilities? So far, they've done a pretty good job of that. Now, how much will they do that during Big Ten season? That's, up for debate. But right now, for me, Alar is my number one in the next class. And again, there's some guys I really like that are possibly draft eligible this year. But like you said, Kyle, I'd rather have the sure thing of the guy I think is the one won the year next year than to have the guy that's 3, 4, or 5 this coming year. So that's why I'm all in Lillard. That's why he's number 3 for me. And if the season keeps going the way it's going, you could possibly convince me to take Alar over Drake May at some point. If Alar just absolutely lights up the Big Ten season, it's a big if right now. But if May struggles and Alar just absolutely lights up the Big Ten, that could change things for me.
Yeah, I think the big thing to remember with Alar is that he's still a true sophomore. We're going to get 2 more years of data to support our takes here. And I think I want to see him open it up a little more this year, obviously. I'd like to see, him throwing, on an average depth, at least like 8-9 yards, hopefully 10. But even if it's like 9 and we get to see like maybe 12 next year, that's a huge improvement. And I think this team is definitely going to be talented next year too. And so he'll have a good supporting cast, and maybe they'll open it up for him after a whole season of starts and another off season in the program to help him even more. So super excited for them to open it up for him.
Yeah. And I think they're kind of still figuring out the pecking order in that wide receiver room, and, have some young guys they're doing some stuff, some transfers. So I think that'll be exciting as they move it along. Plus, Lambert Smith's been good so far as in the number 1 role there. So I don't hate it at all. Okay, looks like next we've got Dante Moore, and Kyle, you're driving that. Oh no, we got Quinn Ewers, which I am driving that train apparently. JT, you want to talk about Quinn a little bit here?
Yeah, so I had Ewers is number 5 on my list. He's a guy that I said coming into the season, make or break for him. Either he plays well and Texas plays well and he shoots to the moon like everybody thought he would, or he struggles and, man, his value just absolutely plummets. So far, started off well, and the Alabama win is gigantic. He looked good in that game. Texas looks good, means they're going to be in the mix all year. I think Ewers is just doing nothing but helping himself at this point. He looked good last year, then had some injuries, had some bad games. To me, after watching the Alabama game, he is definitely moving up. I think his value, especially Devy-wise, is going is big time going up after that game. He's starting to be what everybody said he was coming out of high school.
Yeah, I think he looked really good in that game. We talked a lot about it last week. We actually watched some of this film on our Monday show that Kyle and I do. And, I love, he was getting in rhythm. He was leading guys and anticipating throws. He's putting the ball where the receivers had to be to catch it in stride with forward motion. And then, a couple of threw 3 or 4 deep shots, and 2 of them were just gorgeous, just drops in the bucket to 2 different wide receivers, right? Worthy and A.D. Mitchell. I thought there was a lot to like about this performance. And, like you said, it's not like he's beating up on a G5 team either. Like, he's playing against with elite talent around him. Like, I'm going to point that out, but he's playing against some of the best, talent in the league still, even if Bama's not what it was in recent years. There's still half those kids are going to the NFL. So,
their defense is
Kyle,
still
where are you
loaded. I mean, they're loaded
Still
on
loaded.
defense, so
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good performance. As you see, we're watching a play. I mean, he had one that he put the ball right where it needed to be, and the wide receiver just didn't bring it in.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay. I'm going to start this off by saying Quinn Ewers has a ton of tools, always has, and has shown some good things. But I feel, as the lowest of the group on Ewers, I feel like I have to be the one to throw the cold water on the player here. First of all, last year he did this against Alabama. He had a great game, and then he followed it up with a bunch of duds for the rest of the season. We can maybe attribute that to a shoulder injury that he took in the Alabama game, but you would like to see him have gotten healthy through the season and do a little better, but it never really seemed to turn that way. He was just kind of serviceable last year. And then the other big issue I have with Ewers is his deep ball just hasn't really connected very often. This year he is 3 for 11 on passes over 20 yards. That's a 15.9 or 27.3% completion percentage on those balls. He was really bad against Rice throwing deep, and just not that great in general against Rice. And then obviously looked great against Alabama, which is really, really weird. So I need to see it again from Ewers before I can say this is the Ewers that we're going to get.
Yeah, that's fair, but I think you can say that about anyone on this list from here down. Like, that we need to see more from them. I mean, we got people that haven't played a college game yet.
This is true. Yeah, but the arm strength's definitely great, and the build is good. But yeah, my biggest criticism is the deep ball accuracy.
Yeah, fair. Well, maybe we've seen an improvement, or maybe he's clicking with the receivers more, or maybe it was just a streaky thing, and this was the upside of the streak. I think we'll find out a lot over the next month or so about Quinn Ewers and who's right and who's wrong here. And honestly, I think if we're wrong, we're all wrong, and he should be lower than this. You know what I mean? So cool. All right. Who wants to tee off on Dante?
I guess I have to, since I have him the highest. Dante Moore, the UCLA quarterback, freshman, my number one recruit in this year's class, even before the game started. And once the game started, it's looked pretty good for the young quarterback. He took over the role of starting quarterback in the first game of the season and has not given it back. He is currently 24 for 39 for 433 yards, 5 touchdowns, and an interception through 1.5 games. Pretty dang impressive for a guy who's just playing his first collegiate snaps. Obviously, those aren't like world beater stats, but for a freshman, I will definitely take that. That's pretty dang impressive. He's a guy who just has all the tools, was a winner in high school, led a pretty all right Michigan high school team to a state championship, I believe. But by no means were they like the most talented roster ever. But he definitely elevated that team in high school. And I think he's doing the same thing with UCLA right now. And I think he'll succeed under Chip Kelly. And I think he fits what Chip Kelly wants to do really well. So I think the soup really mixes well together, all the ingredients for Dante Moore.
Yeah, love it. What do you got, JT?
Yeah, I got Moore 7th on my list. I like him a lot. He was my QB2 in this class behind Malachi Nelson. I'm not sure why UCLA just didn't start him right off the bat. It made no sense. It was a classic college coach move. Like, oh, we got to give the older guy a chance. Oh, he's blowing it already. Let's put the stud in. It was just ridiculous. I saw that first game. I was watching that game. I'm like, what are you doing? It was ridiculous. But he has looked really good so far. Now, here's the thing with Dante Moore. He's 7th on my list. But if this guy plays solid against Oregon, Washington, USC, I think his stock could just shoot through the roof. I mean, he has looked really good so far. And if he puts a couple performances on with some national implications, I think it makes a huge difference with him. So I've got him tentatively at 7, but I could see him Devy wise just absolutely going, all the way up the list here, like, getting up to as high as, number 4, 3, depending on how he plays. Because the excitement's there again, true freshman. You got a lot of them. It's always tough in Devy to take true freshman quarterbacks, but when you got a guy that's already playing at a high end school with some talent around him, he's got every opportunity to really blow up. And he's a guy I'm keeping my eyes on. I will admit, I think I'm too low on him right now. And I definitely think he's going to move up my board.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in lockstep with you in all of that. I mean, a couple more good games, and there's no argument not to have him above Ewers unless Ewers is also blowing up in sync with him, right? I think there's a very likely scenario where we're talking about a tier of like Alar and Dante Moore, and then like next year it might be those two guys and Nelson, you know what I mean? That we're talking about as a tier. And I really wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Moore was my favorite prospect coming in. I had Nelson. I was taking Nelson a little bit earlier than him just because of, I think Lincoln Riley, he's a 101 factory, but I in fact like Moore's high school tape a little bit better. And man, yeah, him coming out and just immediately succeeding is just the harbinger of everything good. And he's got all the assets we want in a fantasy football quarterback, not just a winning quarterback. Kid's mobile. He's got the cannon. He's going to add some stuff on the ground. He's going to make plays happen. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be excited about with Dante Moore. I was a little nervous about UCLA. I felt better once they got Sturdivant in the transfer portal. At least I know that Chip Kelly is actively seeking to surround his young talent with playmakers, and that was my biggest fear in that program because they didn't really have that like last year much at all. They had Jake Bobo. Right?
Yeah, and he turned Jake Bobo into a dang good wide receiver.
Yeah. Look, Bobo's on the sleeper thing right now. You know what I mean? The trending player.
But here's the thing. I will throw this in about UCLA. Whenever you have a stud quarterback, it makes other recruits want to go there. So if Dante Moore balls out this whole year, I guarantee that affects the recruits that go to UCLA. They're like, hey, man, this guy's here. He's not going anywhere for a while. He's a stud. He can get me the ball. We're going to run a high-tempo offense. It's going to score a lot of points. So having a stud QB helps everywhere. And this should help UCLA going forward in recruiting big time.
Yeah, love it. Cool. All right. Moving on at what looks to be our consensus 6, Malachi Nelson. JT, you want to lead off on Nelson?
Yeah, so Nelson's my number 1 as far as the freshman. He was right ahead of Dante Moore for me. The reason is he's at USC, Lincoln Riley. I mean, he's going to sit this whole year, obviously, behind Caleb Williams. But I think his value is just going to go up. As Caleb Williams looks better, everyone else is going to think, well, this guy's going to be Caleb Williams. He's going to be – Lincoln Riley's shown that he can just produce the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. And that's why his value is going up for me. So that's why I have him pretty highly ranked, because I just think his value is going to continue to increase. He's going to be the one guy that sits this whole season and doesn't see his value go down. He won't play a play this year unless something crazy happens, and I think his value will still rise because Caleb Williams and what USC, the talent they have, and the coaching staff. So for me, that's why I have him there. He's one of those guys I think you're going to be able to move. You want to hold him because he's a possible 101 at some point, but if you end up you get nervous, you want to move him, I think you're going to be able to move him for really good value before he even plays.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. It wasn't that I also had Nelson above him. I've moved more ahead after him getting game action, but like it's not like there's a gap there. It's not like a world of difference. It's like this kid's played. I've seen him play. He's already good. Like let's roll with the bird in the hand always. I'm a bird in the hand guy for sure. But look, Nelson, quick release, accuracy, good decision making, escapability, right? Like tons of things to get excited about in this young man, and he gets to play freaking Lincoln Riley, right? Like I just I didn't even need more information than that, but like we could go on at length about how good Nelson was in high school and the system and things like that. But for me, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's more likely than not he's going to be extremely well based on the past, 6 years of track record of Lincoln Riley. He's got basically one big whiff with Rattler, who even Rattler's looked all right this year. It's not like he's bad. He just isn't like 101 NFL, and isn't going to be.
And I don't think it's a whiff on Rattler. I think it's just off the field issues. I mean, I think that's what people are nervous at. As long as Malachi Nelson doesn't have any off the field issues, I think people feel great about it. I mean, Rattler was it was mentality, the way he clicked with coaching staff,
between the
other players. It's not like he didn't have talent.
Yeah, exactly. What do you got on Nelson KL?
Yeah, so I once again seem to be the highest on Nelson. I think I'm just I tend to be very aggressive with the young quarterbacks, the freshmen, even though we haven't seen them play. I'd rather have a top 2 quarterback in any class than a second tier guy. So I tend to rate them pretty highly. And Nelson, definitely like a 1B to Dante Moore for me in terms of how I rated these quarterbacks in this freshman class. As a senior, he threw for almost 3,000 yards and 35 touchdowns in California, which is pretty good competition. Had offers from basically every school in the country and chose USC to play with Lincoln Riley. I think that's all just a match made in heaven. Nelson is one of the most accurate quarterbacks I've ever seen at the high school level. So excited to see that with, great playmakers. I mean, we already saw Zachariah Branch break out. We like Mekhi Lemon. We like Deuce Robinson. I think all 3 of these guys are going to mature together and they're all going to mesh very well.
Yeah, loving it. All right, any parting shots here, guys, or should we move on to Mr. McCarthy?
Let's keep her moving.
Keep it moving. All right. So, and oddly enough, I seem to be the one dragging McCarthy up, which was surprising to me because I don't think I'm even that high on him. But I also get your arguments, both of you, for why Moore and Nelson should be above him. And yes, I would rather have a top 2 guy than the third or fourth guy, right? Unless the third or fourth guy is exceptional. But usually we see a teardrop for sure. But McCarthy has been excellent this year. I mean, really, I know I feel like you have to take it a little bit for a grain of salt because Michigan has always an outstanding offensive line. They have just a powerful running game, which makes his life easier. But, even last year, we saw quick decision-making. We saw mobility. We saw him throwing on the run accurately. We saw him making good decisions, protecting the ball, making just like intelligent football play. And the one thing I didn't see from him last year was a lot of deep balls I liked when I did a mid-season review. And I think he's thrown some deep shots this year and looked good doing it. So I don't know if it was just hot and cold or he's worked on that aspect of his game. But man, there's a lot to like about McCarthy. He's pretty much, I mean, he's getting round 1, like pretty unanimous round 1 hype at this point. So, easy for me to keep him in my top, 6 when we are pretty sure an NFL team is going to spend top 30 capital on him a few months from now. So where are you guys at on McCarthy?
I'll jump
McCarthy.
in. I'll jump in. I'll take the Kyle side of where I'm like kind of anti McCarthy. I have to be honest with you. He's barely just slipped into my top 10 here recently. I just have not been a big guy on him. I don't love his size. I feel like he's a little small for the NFL, which is kind of crazy talking about Bryce Young and some of the other guys that didn't have great size the last couple of years. He's only slid into my top 10 because of what I've seen so far this year. He looks a lot better to me. He looks a lot more accurate. He's moving really well in the pocket. I kind of am starting to feed in a little bit where I was just out on him coming in this year. I was just like, I just don't see it with everybody. I think he's a solid college quarterback, but I was like, I don't love him for Devy. I just don't see him being a first-round pick in the NFL. I'm slightly coming around to this. as things go on. Now we'll see how things go the rest of the year. Obviously, in the playoffs, he looked really good last year in the playoffs. That I think jumped his stock. But for me, I gotta like we saw it. I gotta see more out of him. I think he's got a shot. He's starting to win me over a little bit, but I probably am farther down on him than most people at this point.
I was with you for most of last year, but I love JJ McCarthy now. I think to me he seems like a more than competent like game manager type, like the type of game manager that like sticks around forever and just does really well, like a Kirk Cousins type, Tom Brady-esque type player. Obviously, I'm not going to comp him to Tom Brady right now, but he attacks all areas of the field and he attacks them all well. He's just been really, really accurate in these first two games this year. Obviously, it's UNLV and it's Eastern Carolina. Like, Michigan should kill these teams, but he's thrown like 6 incompletions in 2 games now, and they're throwing like 30 passes a game. And he's just looked really, really good. He's making all the right decisions. He's completing the deep ball. He's completing the intermediate passes and the short passes. I mean, he's just really picking apart defenses in the first 2 weeks. Obviously, we'd love to see it against a little bit tougher of competition, but I think we will. And I think like the Roman Wilson breakout party is only going to benefit him. Colson Loveland playing pretty well will benefit him, and of course, the 2 running backs that Michigan has will, of course, benefit him. Plus, I don't think size is a concern. I mean, he's listed at 6'3" everywhere, and I think that's fine. That's tall enough.
Yeah. JT, any parting shots before we move on?
Yeah, I think he's tall enough. My worry was that he was just kind of skinny and smaller. I think they could put weight on him. I do think the fact that they haven't had just outstanding wide receivers and other things to make him look better is showing that he's this year. You're going, hey, see, he has good players around him, but he's not like breakout talents, and he's looked really good. So to me, that's where he's slightly moving up my list. You said the Kirk Cousins thing was a really good example. I feel like he could end up being that type of guy where people are kind of down on him most career. They don't absolutely love him, but he ends up just being that solid QB for like 10, 12 years of an NFL career. I can absolutely see that out of him. He seems like that guy that has the mental capability and a guy that just really loves the game and that is going to work at it. And I think that's where I think the really good comparison of Kirk Cousins comes in.
Yeah, I mean, Cousins has been a top 15 quarterback for like 12 years. I'll take that.
Like yeah.
Especially in Superflex. QB2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to get drafted in the first round. You know what I mean? And I think he's going to have a career. Like, I just feel like we see these guys get hype and get drafted in the first round that we just have big questions marks about as passer and decision making and things like that. And I think the NFL is like get a little bit sore about some of those things. You know what I mean? Some of them, like at Tennessee, right, might be like ruining their decision by the end of this year, right? So maybe we're going to see some guys like this that are playing the game well and playing the game intelligently and have the skill as a passer, starting to come back around a little bit, particularly because he can run. It's not like he is not mobile or athletic. He's just not, he's not Anthony Richardson, but you don't have to be to break off a couple of scrambles or designed runs. All right. Jackson Arnold. We're all big fans of Arnold too, right? I don't think his ranking as our consensus QB8 should be taken as a knock by any means, right? It's just so we really, really, really like the guys above him on this list. And I'll speak for myself. I mean, when he got in late in that game, it was a week 0 or whatever, he looked good, man. Like, played well, like pretty much unanimously praised. Same thing in the spring game. I have no reason not to be excited about Jackson Arnold. I wonder if his upside's a little bit more capped than the guys ahead of him in his class. I just don't think he has quite the cannon that the QB 1 and 2 in that class do. Kyle is rolling his eyes. Kyle, why don't you tell me where I'm wrong here, sir?
I think Jackson Arnold has quite the arm. I think he showed that in his high school tape. He reminds me a lot of another Jeff Lebby quarterback, Matt Corral, but a little even more souped up athletically. He can throw those hash throws, like from one hash to the opposite sideline. I think he showed that in his high school tape. He throws the ball
there on that throw.
Yeah, he throws the ball at different arm angles, like a Pat Mahomes type quarterback, and I think he's like the ultimate gunslinger. Like if I was going to project like raw tools to the NFL, it would be Jackson Arnold. I think there was some stuff in his high school tape that I'd love to see him improve on. Decision making a little bit, staying in the pocket, staying within play structure, but he looked good, evading pressure and throwing downfield, and just usually made good decisions. So big fan of Jackson Arnold. I think he'll do really well in this Jeff Lebby offense at Oklahoma. And I once again, am aggressively ranking the freshman. So
yeah, you see him taking some direct snaps or QB draws here too. I mean, he's got some rushing ability. I think he might be who everyone thought Will Levis was going to be, not to continue kicking on Levis, but he seems to have that kind of athletic ability, that kind of deep ball right here. There's that throw I was looking for again. I mean, it's a nice throw,
I think he's what everyone wanted Matt Corral to be, like without Corral's like bad decision making and recklessness at times.
Corral was little too, is the thing.
Yeah, that
Corral's
too.
Little guy. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me on Jackson Arnold, I got him as number 9 right now. That game against Arkansas State at the beginning of the year, 11 of 11, 114 and a touchdown. I mean, can't ask him for him to do any more than that. I mean, he looked great when he got the opportunity. I think if Lincoln Riley is still in Oklahoma and Jackson Arnold's the QB there, I think we're talking totally different. I think we're talking him top 5. Excuse me. Yeah, frog in my throat. I think we're talking him top 5. I mean, I really do. I think because Oklahoma's down a little bit, people are down on that in general. I think Jackson Arnold has all the talent. He's my QB 3 in that freshman class. And I think, again, if he was at USC instead of Malachi Nelson or Lincoln Riley was still Oklahoma and he was there, I think people for Devy purposes would be way higher on Jackson Arnold. I just think they would. Because of the QB situation, the coach situation. I know things have not looked pretty in Oklahoma lately. But I think if anybody's going to bring him back, I think Jackson Allen's the guy that's going to bring Oklahoma back.
Yeah. Arnold, nice. Any parting shots on Arnold, guys?
I think Oklahoma's back already, but different conversation for a different time.
They've looked good this year for sure. Okay, so this is a guy we kind of had a pretty wide range on here, and I get it. I honestly was being a little contentious with my Connor Wigman ranking, but this is a kid that's got some upside. He's got some talent. I think we've just seen him already this season with highs and lows, and the lows were not pretty. But I mean, I think he's put a lot of nice stuff on film. Instantly elevated this offense when he took over. Not that was a high bar. It was very, very bad quarterback play before that, but I love seeing that. I love seeing a guy step in and just elevate everyone around him. The kid that can run a little bit. We've seen him make all the throws so far. And took him 6 games to throw his first interception. And yeah, he threw 2 to Miami, Florida, who I think is a really good defense this year. So, and I don't think he'd really been in that situation yet as a starting quarterback where he was in a boat race against an elite defense. And I think you saw him mess up a little bit, but even in that game, he had flashes of excellence to go along with some crappy plays. So I don't know. I again, I don't think you guys are condemning him. Well, JT is pretty low. So JT, why don't you tell me why Wegman's not an NFL quarterback? Because that's kind of
I'm pretty low on Wegman. I got him at 15 right now, and I'm not taking him anywhere in Devy. I'm very nervous about him. I have to be honest. He feels like that guy that you watch him on tape, you see some of the throws, and you're like, oh, this guy's got it. He's an NFL player. And then he turns around and makes terrible throws or bad decisions. And you're like, who is this guy? And I hate to say it because I'm the biggest Will Levis hater of all time. He's giving me Will Levis vibes. The guy that you look at and you're like, hey, he has everything. He should be everything you want. But is he actually going to be that guy? Is he going to be consistent? Is he not going to turn the football over? Now, he's not, excuse me, he's not as big of a turnover machine as Will Levis is, but I got to see more from Wegman before I'm in on him. I'm very near Evans. I think Evan Stewart is an absolute beast as a wide receiver. I think he's helping him out because he looks so good. I mean, Evan Stewart is like my wide receiver 1 in that class. So I have, for me to move up on him and get on board, I got to see it a lot more consistently. The ability, like I said, I just don't know if it's going to be consistent enough for me that I think NFL teams are going to take a huge chance on him.
Yeah, definitely some projection. And my knock on him is the same as yours. I just think he's improved a lot already. He has room to improve. Like, again, all these guys are projecting at this point to some degree. But yeah, he's got to get more consistent if he's going to be a first-round quarterback, for sure. Kyle, you're kind of in the middle.
Yeah, no, I agree with both of y'all's points. I really liked him as a recruit. I think all the tools are pretty much there for Wegman. I don't think there's a part of his game that I look at in terms of athleticism and like what he is limited in doing that where I don't see him succeeding in the NFL. Obviously, he does need more reps and probably better decision making, but I think that all comes with time. We got to remember this guy's still a true sophomore. He's, only had about 200 NCAA attempts at this point. So I think Wegman will really impress me in the first game against New Mexico. Obviously, it's New Mexico, but I don't think he looked horrible against Miami. He definitely did pretty well in the first half until the wheels kind of fell off. But, he was forced to drop back 57 times in that game. I don't really think that's something you want to do with a true sophomore starting quarterback. But so hopefully that's not something they continue to do against, even tougher defenses in the SEC. But I like Wegman a lot. I think all the tools are there. I think he'll continue to improve as he sees more college snaps.
Yeah. Samesies, Kyle. All right. We got a couple more guys to round our top 10. And JT, if you I know you got to go. When you got to go, just give us a wave and a shout. And
we're actually on number 10, so we only got one more.
Yeah. We're right
Although
here.
I think we do need to talk about 11.
Yeah, we need to talk about
We're right going to have to go 10 and 11. We're going to have to talk 10 and 11. It's going to have to happen.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
all right,
Michael
10,
Penix Jr. is our number 10.
Yeah, and we were all pretty much in lockstep with him. I was a little bit lower than you guys. I guess I'll tee off on that note. And look, I think Penix is awesome. He's super talented. I think he's as good a passer in the areas he's good at as pretty much anyone on this list. I've heard some other people talking about lately that brought up some points. It gave me pause, and it was basically this. It was, the build is a little bit slender. The injury history is long. The athleticism in terms of a rusher is not elite, right? It's, and that they were questioning, does he have the deep ball talent to really make him attractive as a deep passer in the NFL, or as a pocket passer, right? If we don't think he's, really going to be a rushing quarterback, you're seeing that, like, the intermediate area of the field, intermediate to deep, like he's a baller. He's a surgeon for sure. So, I think Penix 100% gets drafted. I just wonder if his upside isn't a little bit more limited than the guys we've put ahead of him on this list. But I mean, for me right now, I think he's a top of the second round, back of the first round quarterback, probably second round, unless he really continues to nuke it. And I think that's a factor of him just having a little bit less in the tools department than some of the other guys. But y'all tell me where I'm wrong.
I'll jump in on Penix. College QB, the guy is off the charts. I mean, he's everything you want. He's completing passes. He's putting up ridiculous stats. He's everything you want out of college QB. Now, my biggest concern, Devy-wise for him, C2C, CFF, absolutely love him. You got to play him every week. He's a stud. Devy-wise, where I get very concerned is when they do the combine and they start looking into the medicals on him and the constant injuries he had at Indiana. How bad are those injuries? How much have they been masked to this point? He's been at Washington. They've been a lot better. He's not had to move around as much. Those are things that concern me. And he's got a little bit of a quick trigger. The way he throws the ball is kind of low. And I'm worried about him getting a lot of passes batted down maybe at the next level. I'm wondering if NFL scouts think the same way. I'm worried that some guys get in the scouting process like Anthony Richardson and they just blow up because they are just stud athletes and they just put everything out there. My worry is that Michael Penix will not do well at those things, and that will hurt his draft stock. Now, I think he's a really good QB. I like him a lot. Right now, I'm thinking he's a third rounder when everything is said and done. And that's only because I think the medicals and the NFL will be worried about quite a few things with him. That's where my worry is for Devy-wise. I love the guy in general, love him as a college player, but that is where I'm slightly concerned on an NFL level.
Yeah.
Penix for me kind of just sneaks into the top 10 almost sort of by default, like he's my QB 10. He's a pretty solid quarterback. I think there are definitely things to like about him. He's makes some big plays. I definitely don't think he's a dual threat guy at all. He's definitely more of a pocket passer. That's his way to succeed. But I absolutely agree with JT here. The injury history is the biggest concern for me. I probably have him a little higher if not for that. And just like overall, his performance at Indiana was just very streaky. It really kind of took him until he was a fifth-year senior to really break out. And he was in a much better offense at Washington with Kalen DeBoer and two great wide receivers in Rome Odunze and Jalen McMillan. So I do definitely have some concerns about Penix. And I think, the more we talk about him just today, I think I might even move him down a hair. So not super excited about Penix, but I think there are definitely things to like. I think most of the traits I'm looking for are there.
Yeah. It's funny. It sounds like you guys, never mind. They're both like sound more down on him than me, but I have him spots below you. So, all right, we had a couple of big outliers here. I think that's what we wrap this up with. If we can keep JT on, if we can't, then God bless you. We love having you on, man. So, Shader Sanders is the biggest outlier for us. He was our consensus 11, but that was you having him at 4 and Kyle and I having him in like the teens.
You're gonna have to explain it to me, JT. I don't.
Yeah,
get it, man.
I actually have him at 11, but go.
So here's where I'm at Sanders, and I've said this since early in the summer. I think the guy has elite skills. He throws a great D ball. He's accurate. He's calm in the pocket. He can place it. I know people are worried about him coming out of Jackson State. Where does that change? The guy was a high-end guy. He was a 4-star. He was going to go to Florida State before they did a coaching change. So it's not like he's just come out of nowhere. I had him at the summer. I told people if he even comes out and remotely plays well at Colorado, he's my QB3 in this next draft class. It's Caleb Williams, Drake May. and Shedeur Sanders for me. I think he's a first-round pick. I think he's a top 10 guy. And I think if he stays, I think he's a chance that he's the 1-1 next year. Now, I know this got a lot of hype on X because Mel Kiper said the exact same thing. But me and my boy S.E. Romero, who also does the Devy show with me on the Dynasty Pros football channel, we both were in lockstep on this. We both agreed we thought he was QB3 with a chance to move up, possibly above Drake May, depending on how the season went for Drake and Sanders. And we said both, if he ended up staying, he could possibly be the 1-1 the next year. Now, I know people are kind of like, oh, it's the hype, it's the hype, it's the hype. I think this guy's for real. He has good accuracy. He has not run the ball much, and I will say their offensive line for Colorado is terrible. And so he's had to take a lot of sacks. So he hasn't been able to show his running ability, but he was a guy who could run at Jackson State. He had rushing touchdowns. I think he had 9 in his 2 years there. So he is a guy that can move, but he just makes guys miss. He moves around in the pocket. He keeps his eyes downfield, and he has thrown some great accuracy on these deep balls to players. His numbers are ridiculous right now, and they could be better. They could absolutely be better as they've had quite a few drops on touchdowns, long plays. He had a great play in this Nebraska game. We broke like 3 or 4 tackles, spun out twice, got all the way to the sideline, threw it back across his body to a wideout who ended up dropping it in the end zone. Originally, it was called a touchdown. They said it hit the ground. But to me, Sanders is just being slept on. I think he's going to keep this up. I think we're going to see some just firework games in the Pac-12 between Oregon and Colorado, USC, all these good quarterbacks. I think we're going to see a spotlight on them, and I think the fact that everybody's already looking at Colorado is just going to boost Sanders' profile in general. If he plays well in these games, if he can come out and ball out the way he has so far, even if Colorado loses, but he plays well against Oregon and USC, I just think his stock is going to rise.
Yeah. You want to go first, Kyle, or you want me to go?
You go. I'm going to be mean.
I like him.
He's like, tell me how long I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong.
No. I think he's showing some traits that are awesome. I know the offense is great, and it's they're spreading some stuff out. I do think he's showing great accuracy on these short and intermediate passes, making good decisions. The escapability's been nice. Like, he definitely has some pocket awareness. That's nice. I got 2 problems with him. I don't think he's like a mobile, like going to be like adding a ton of rushing yardage. I don't think he's that athletic. He's athletic in terms of like, I don't know, agile and like, body awareness and stuff like that, but I don't think he's fast like that. And then the other thing is, you said he throws a good deep ball. I've seen him throw a lot of like really nice, like intermediate to mid throws, but it looks like he doesn't drive the ball on some of the deeper ones. Like, I don't know. I don't think he's got a great deep ball, and I'm afraid of that for his NFL prospects. But maybe I just haven't seen it yet, or I'm being pickier than you. But those are my 2 knocks, which make him, for me, tough to get him to be like a 101 to 112 type NFL prospect. I guess I kind of feel the same way I feel about him as Penix, minus the injury history. So that's it. Kyle, what do you got?
I don't think Shedeur Sanders has an NFL arm, not a special NFL arm in any way. His numbers in the 20-plus yards, like outside of the field, not in the middle of the field, show that. I don't think he can attack those areas of the field at the level we want to see a top 10 quarterback do. I think his pocket presence is downright atrocious. I don't think he avoids sacks at all. His pressure to sack percentage this year is 27.5. That's one of the worst in the country. And that's not just a Colorado thing. I mean, it was in the 20s at Jackson State. You can tell me his offensive line sucks. I agree. But he should avoid sacks at a better rate than that. He's fine. He makes good decisions. He attacks the short areas of the field very well. But I think if his name is like Shader Jones, he's Gardner Minshew. I think the media circus is there because of his father, and that's going to help him. That's going to get him in the NFL for sure, absolutely. But I don't think he's a special quarterback prospect.
Yeah, for me, I definitely his father's name, all the hype around him, I think makes a difference. But to me, I think he's a similar to but better JJ McCarthy. Just personally, I just think if for people that love JJ McCarthy, I think they're pretty similar players. But I think Shador is a little more accurate. For me, moves in the pocket a little bit better. I think he avoids some stuff outside better. But I think JJ, where he has really looked good this season, is just adjusting in the pocket, just stepping up, slightly moving over. That's where he's done really well. But I'm a Sanders guy. I'm a believer. I know a lot of people aren't, and they're still trying to figure it out. But I do. I think this guy I think he skyrockets up NFL draft boards. I just think he's got the awareness. He's got the mentality. I think he's got the smarts to play QB at the NFL level. And I think, does he have a spectacular arm? No, I agree with you. I don't think he has a spectacular arm for the deep ball, but I think he's good enough and smart enough to throw it where he needs to and win. Perfect example is the ball that just got thrown up on the screen there.
That was a good
the
shot.
Deep one to Weaver. He just laid it right in the pocket at the right time. I think he's going to be a guy that wins deep balls on timing throws as opposed to him winning because he just has the strongest arm out there and forces it in there and gets it there because he just has a cannon. I don't think he's that guy, but I think he does have the timing and to make those throws. And so that's why, to me, I like him there. Again, for me, he's QB3 in this draft class. He's QB4 overall for me and Devy. I've got Alar ahead of him because I think Alar is the 101 in the draft class after that. Now, if Sanders stayed and they both went, it would be a question for me. I probably would take Alar still. I like him a little bit better I think he's just bigger, stronger arm. But Sanders for me is a top 5 guy.
I don't think I've ever seen Shader Sanders step up in the pocket. And that's just like very concerning to me because once you get rushed by the best athletes in the world, that just does not work. And I think they're going to have. They've played two of the
he can
worst.
Make that adjustment, yeah.
Yeah, I think a good coach can coach that into him. If that's his defect, like they can work on that.
I think they've also played
21-year-old kid, right?
Two of the bottom 4 defenses still play all season. I think this team. I don't think this team will hang with Oregon at all, or Washington. The USC defense isn't great. They could probably make that game a little interesting. If they play Utah, I'm not sure if they do. They'd get killed. Frankly.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, defensive-wise, Colorado is not good. I think they're going to put up points, and I think that's for Sanders. Devy-wise, his NFL prospects, I think that's the difference. I think they lose those games. I don't think Colorado's good enough to beat those programs. But if he can put up 35 points and look good against those teams as they lose 52-30 or 63-35, and he can still look good, I think that helps him. But yeah, Colorado to me, I took the over 3.5. I will absolutely put it out there. I thought they would win more than 4 games for sure. I still think they're a 6-6 team. If they upset somebody, I think maybe 7-5. But yeah, I don't think they beat those teams. But I think if the offense can perform and score some points, I think it definitely helps them even if they lose those games.
Yeah. I do also have one more thing about this offense. I think offensive coordinator Sean Lewis, Power 5 head coach next year. I mean, I think he's one of the top offensive minds in the country. And I think that really helps Shador. And maybe it does speak to his maturity that they're like mind melding this offense and he's doing everything that Lewis wants him to do. But also this offense isn't pro style. So I don't think he's like going to be ready for the NFL. But obviously, if he can learn this offense in an offseason, maybe he can learn an NFL offense pretty quickly. So
yeah, maybe he gets drafted and sits for a year. I mean, that's tell me why that's not a great idea. But I love it. JT, where are you at, man? Are you departing us, or you got time?
Yep, I got to take off. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on the show. Everybody, check me out at JT Orange Dynasty Pros Football Channel. You can find my show, The Stew with JT Brew. I appreciate it, guys. Hopefully, be back soon.
Yeah, appreciate it, my man. Talk soon.
Yep, thanks, guys.
JT, everybody, he's good people. Check out his shows, please, for sure. The one more guy I wanted to talk about, I don't think we need to go through the rest of the list. I don't think there's that much left on this that we're like super divided on. Like I'm lower on the Arch. I just didn't like Arch that much, and which might mean I'm more higher on some other guys. But I didn't rank him my first pass through on this, but I came back and I said, well, why isn't Jordan Travis like a top 12 Devy quarterback right now? So, Kyle, why don't you think Jordan Travis is a top 12 Devy quarterback? I think he's played well in the past 2 years. And part of my thought on this too was like, well, if I'm knocking some of these other guys for not being athletic, like Travis is that, man. He's extremely athletic. He's a good rusher of the football. And I think he's been throwing the ball very well this year. So where's your thoughts on him?
I don't think Travis is a great decision maker. That would be like probably my biggest concern. I think he has some turnover where he throws. It also worries me that he's in his 6th year in college. That's kind of a big one for me. I'm not a huge fan of guys who are around for a long time, especially if there's not like an injury story to tell. Correct me if I'm wrong. There might be, but I don't remember.
He missed part of a season, but that's not it. He just wasn't great in his first few years.
Yeah. I think the tools are all right. I mean, you're not wrong. There is some athleticism there, but I still don't think he's a dual threat at the NFL level. He's just kind of like all right. I think he's a good college quarterback. I think like at best he's Kenny Pickett. Like that's not very encouraging to me.
That's not very enticing.
I think his performance this season has benefited a lot from Keon Coleman being like an incredible jump ball receiver. I think the LSU game was a Keon Coleman highlight tape more than it was a Jordan Travis highlight tape. And I think Johnny Wilson is a similar kind of receiver. I'd rather see, the quarterback, throw his wide receivers open rather than just throw jump balls that his wide receivers win.
That is all fair, my friends. All right, how you feeling about this? You want to do some start sits?
Yeah, let's get through this, I think.
Okay, so we did get some requests. First one is from friend of the show, Fantasy Nerd Boy. Nerd Boy at Nerd Boy Takes with an OI. You want to read the question? You wrote this down.
No, you got it.
Okay. So it looks like he's asking, should we start Siobhan Cordero at Toledo or Braden Schrager versus Oregon? What do you think, Kyle?
I lean Cordero. I think that's probably the easier of the two matchups. Oregon's defense didn't look spectacular against Texas Tech last week, but it is a G5 team playing a G5 team, even though I do think Toledo is one of the better G5 defenses in the country.
I was stat.
I don't think either of these matchups are great. That's kind of the biggest issue for me.
Really. Like, do we have an option C? And I'm trying not to start Cordero where I can.
Mm-hmm.
I benched Schrager unless I had horrific alternatives. And Schrager's going to throw it a million times. He's going to see volume. I just don't know if he throws any touchdowns. He could throw this could be like at 240 yards, 1 touchdown.
I think I'm actually going to go. I'm going to go Schrager, actually.
Just because of volume?
Pure volume. I think Oregon will let off the gas if they get far enough ahead. And I think he could save his fantasy day in the fourth quarter.
That's true. Yeah, close it in the back door. I mean, and honestly, I think he's got some good talent to throw to, too. I think Ashlock is like a P5 level receiver playing in Hawaii. he's looked really good, and he's got a couple of the people that are like good, fifth year. The other kid,
Yeah, like
can't
Tyler
remember his name.
Hines.
Yeah,
I'm holding back tears.
I don't know, man. I don't know what happened to Tyler Hines. I've moved on. He's on some rosters that I don't have like open waivers on, but otherwise he's gone. Been gone with the wind. Just wasn't meant to happen. So all right, cool. Moving on. And thanks, Nerd Boy. Thanks for the question, my friend. We'll tag you in
So
this drops.
I'm going Shager. Are you still going Cordero?
I slightly in Cordero. Yeah. I think it's a competitive game, but I think Cordero can throw a few tutties in that one for sure. So, all right. Second question from him. Start 2. Roland Humby versus UVA. Kamani Vidal versus JMU. Blake Watson versus Navy. And Jalen White at Wisconsin. There's one that's obvious to me. And then after that, I feel like the other 3 options are kind of close.
I
How you
think
feel?
I think there's one that's obvious to me, and there's one that's obviously not it.
Yeah.
I
Shoot.
think
White.
Roman Hemby is the obvious one. I'm definitely starting Hemby. I am not starting Jalen White in a standard league for sure. He is somewhat a contender in a PPR league. I think he'll catch plenty of passes. I don't think he'll have an effective day on the ground, though. And then kind of the issue right now is the Memphis Navy game already started, so we can't really choose Blake Watson.
So I was going to say the Navy's defense hasn't been this good this year, and Blake Watson's been excellent. So I think we're both Vidal and Hemby then.
Yeah, but if we do want to go back 2 hours, or I guess like 4 hours at this point, I would worry that the Navy offense would slow the game down too much, and that's just kind of what the service academies do. It kind of ruin the game for both offenses usually. So I would have gone Hemby and Vidal as well.
Yeah. JMU doesn't scare me, and Vidal has been a volume pig. And it's been good.
UVA really doesn't scare me either. They're very bad on defense.
No. Has Hemby been getting all the volume this year though? I don't have much.
He's averaging like 25 points a game.
Oh, nice.
In fantasy.
Yeah. Wish I had more Hemby and less like Rodney Hammond.
I have 0 Rodney Hammond, but I also wish I had more Hemby.
Yeah. I made some bad 3rd round selections this year. Hammond, then I thought it was going to Harden. I thought it was going to be Harden from UCLA.
I have a lot of Harden.
Yeah, that hurts. Again, Steele's been great, and I love Steele coming into the season.
Harden's doing all right too. That's a 50-50 split.
He hasn't been scoring, and he hasn't been getting enough
Steele's
volume,
hitting touchdowns. So. That's the issue.
Yeah. All right. So from friend Santi at SCFC 147. Appreciate the question, Santi.
Tight end question.
All right, half PPR. You got Tanner Kozel. How do you say it?
I thought it was Koziol.
That's how I usually pronounce it in my head, but I'm usually wrong about those things. Okay, versus Indiana State. Or Gavin Bartholomew at WVU. Bartholomew coming off of a rough 2022, but was great last year. And Pitt doesn't really have any playmakers, so can tell a story where he gets last week. That's what I meant. Yeah. Holden State versus CMU. I don't know who Holden State is.
Notre Dame. Last week he had 5 catches, like 60 yards and a touchdown.
That's it. He had a little breakout. I think it's Koziol. What do you think? Koziol's been just all the volume for Ball State.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure. I was going to look up Koziol's stats because I don't have him. I'm not sure. But it was definitely between him and Bartholomew, and it's probably Koziol since Hunt is still out. Not.
Yeah, Koziol he's got 10 targets against Kentucky and only 5 against UGA.
Those are some tough opponents. Yeah, I think he'll have a little mini breakout game against a worse team, a team that's not in the SEC.
Yeah, exactly. But against Kentucky, 10 targets, 8 receptions, 66 yards. No tutty, because I think Ball State's kind of rough this year. And I don't think Brady Hunt's back yet.
He's not.
When he comes back, that might be a concern. But until then, I'm like, fire up all the Koziol you got. I got a couple shares, I think. I don't know. I haven't started him anywhere this year, but I was really high on him last year. I don't know how I don't have any shares.
I just have a crap ton of Hunt and no Koziol.
I've got him in some of our best balls. So, okay. All right. I hope that was helpful, Santi. Appreciate the question. Okay. All right. We got one more. Start 2, TJ Finley versus Jackson. Also from Santi. Yes. All right. Start 2, TJ Finley versus Jacksonville State. Brady Cook versus Kansas State. Jaden Rashada versus Fresno State. Gavin Wimsatt versus Purdue. All I got to say is, I'm sorry, Santi. This is like a 20-team league.
There's a good option.
Or he punted everything.
No, there's a good option, and there's 3 really bad ones. Yes.
You like Finley.
Yes.
I think Finley
I'm definitely starting Finley.
Finley was great week 1, was terrible last week against a not so great opponent in UTSA, UTSA, but I think he will rebound versus Jacksonville State. Although Jacksonville State's defense isn't bad. They won that first game.
Against UTEP, right? UTEP's horrible.
Yeah, UTEP or UTSA, one of them.
UTEP. Yeah.
I
think TJ Finley will have a pretty solid game this week. And then for the other options, I don't think I'm starting Rashada at all.
Brady Cook's been fine. Rough. He's got Burden. I'm probably starting
Brady Cook has been fine. I think the Kansas State defense is much better than defenses he's played against. I'm starting Gavin Wimsatt as the second quarterback. He's averaging, I think, 17 points per game in fantasy so far. He's had some rushing stats to help buoy him. I don't think he's not playing Purdue. He's playing Virginia Tech. I wrote that down.
Oh, that's better than Purdue, too.
Yeah. Virginia Tech, not very good on defense. Wimsatt had a rushing touchdown in week 1. I think you got to hope for another rushing touchdown and 6 points from that. And then he can put together, 18 to 20 points, which not going to kill you.
Yeah, fair. I think we're in agreement on Finley. I think I would rather start Cook than Wimsatt. I just think Wimsatt's very inconsistent, but also Virginia Tech's pretty bad. So
I'm starting Wimsatt and holding my nose.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Again, thanks for the questions, guys. We appreciate it. We try to round up some more. Do you want to do a couple more of these, Kyle, or how you feeling?
Yeah, let's do a couple more of these, and I'll spring 1 or 2 on you.
Cool. All right. This is one I had to look at, and this one's pretty easy, but Darius Taylor versus UNC or Malik Neighbors versus Mississippi State.
I am starting Darius Taylor, actually.
I'm worried that it's not going to be all him because the coach had specifically said, he did good. We wanted to see what he had. But, there's other running backs too. So that freaked me out a little bit. But
I think the UNC defense is quite bad. And I think the Mississippi State defense is better than that. And I haven't been impressed with Neighbors at all this season. I don't think he's got a touchdown yet. He's averaging 5 receptions a game, 50 yards.
Yeah, 12.5 points, something like that, PPR.
Yeah, he's all right. He's not the Neighbors we wanted to see. He's not the every week plugged-in starter that we wanted to see. Brian Thomas Jr. has been very impressive, and Neighbors has been kind of all right. So I'm going to stick with Darius Taylor.
Yeah, I guess he's the upside play for sure. Okay, you sold me. All right, so this one's ugly. Honestly, I just kind of wanted to talk about Taven Green because what's up with Taven Green? But Taven Green versus UND, North Dakota, I assume. EJ Warner versus South Carolina, Tanner Mordecai at Georgia South. Those are my personal options at QB2 in a league. And it seems like it should be Taven Green by a landslide, but he's been not good so far. And it's not good against great defenses. It's been just not good.
I don't roster enough of these guys to tell you exactly how I feel about them. Taylor Green is averaging 12 points a game. That's not very good.
It's bad.
Off the top of my head, I lean Tanner Mordecai. I think Georgia Southern has a good enough offense to keep them in this game. I think Wisconsin is going to want to prove themselves a little bit too after a loss to Washington State. So I think Mordecai has the best combination of prior production and bad opponent.
Fair enough. Yeah, Tatum Green's freaking me out, man. What's up? He was supposed to be good. He's not been good. Why? All right. One more of mine.
He's played Washington and UCF. I mean, Washington definitely outmatches Boise State in terms of talent.
Yeah, UCF does a little bit, but
I think UCF's a good team.
Yeah.
But yeah, he should have done a little better against UCF.
Just do something, dude. Like, it's been bad. It's been
Yeah.
bad. So
I mean, only 19 at oh my god, his completion percentage is 48.
I know.
Yeah.
It's awful. I was shocked, All right. So two more rapid fire on mine. So Cody Schrader or Ollie Gordon. And Cody Schrader versus Kansas State or Ollie Gordon versus South Alabama. Because Schrader is a lot better than Gordon, but the matchup definitely wants me to play Gordon.
I take the matchup in this one. I think Missouri's going to struggle to move the ball. So I'll go Ollie Gordon.
All right, and then this is a luxury problem to have here. I'm going to start two of Xavier Worthy, Corey Kiner, or Rome Odunze. Worthy's got Wyoming. So do they throw the ball a lot in the second half? Kiner's got Miami, Ohio, and he's been great against better defenses than that. And Odunze has Michigan State.
I'm benching Worthy and starting Kiner and Odunze.
Yeah, you're worried like I am that they're just not going to have to throw it all in the second half. And
and Worthy hasn't been like a target hog by any means.
He's been very productive, but
he's been solid. He's not like the guy in the offense. He's
he's not the guy. He's averaging 17.4 fantasy points a game.
Yeah, I think
you get 90 yards in one game, 75 and a tutty in the other. So that's like tolerable, but it's a floor play.
Yeah,
so
it's good. It's just disappointing for where he drafted Worthy.
Did you expect him to be a volume hog? I didn't. I drafted Worthy where I have him for the Devy mostly.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. We did get one more response on Twitter that came in late from FFDF, my boy Derek Fuchs. I don't know. I need to ask him. FUCHS.
It's way cooler to be like Derek Fuchs.
Derek Fuchs. Anyway, we're gonna switch the question up. Instead of asking start one, we're gonna ask bench one. We have Elijah Badger, the Arizona State wide receiver, Jamal Bell, the Nevada wide receiver against Kansas, Jacoby George from Miami, Florida against Boston College, and Jalen Watkins out of Ole Miss against Georgia Tech. We are also out of luck on this one because Jacoby George's game is over. But so I will really quickly tell you the answer to this question. But I think I would have benched George because I'm pretty sure the weather for this Miami-Boston College game, it was horrific. But we're about to see if I was right.
What were the other two options?
So you're going to bench one between Elijah Badger, Jamal Bell, Jacoby George, and Jalen Watkins.
Jamal Banks?
No, Jamal Bell, the Nevada wide receiver who's broken out this season and is averaging 25 points a game.
Oh. Yeah, I'm definitely benching George anyways, because honestly, he's not had volume before that. I mean, was that the signs of something new to come, or was he just like the guy with the good matchup in that game? I don't know. They've got a lot of options there. And yeah, if it's a bad weather game, then
I was also getting this confused. It's not a bad weather game. They're playing Bethune Cookman. The Boston College game is a bad weather game, but it's the other BC that they're playing against.
Oh, yeah. I still think like it could be a Colby Young game, or they could just run the ball down their throats, particularly if it's an inferior team. I mean,
Well,
you take away
here's the
3
answer.
tutties.
It's in the third quarter, he has 4 for 47 and a touchdown.
So
14, 15 points plus a quarter and a half to play.
yeah, so I guess we would have been wrong.
Yeah.
That would have been my answer, though. Well, I don't know. Let's wait and see. Those other guys could all
Let's
go
say
for 20.
between the other 3, Jamal Bell, Jalen Watkins, and Elijah Badger. I'm definitely starting Jalen Watkins because Trey Harris is in flux. Might play, might not. I'm thinking it sounds like he's not going to. So definitely starting Jalen Watkins against Georgia Tech. And then I think I lean Jamal Bell over Elijah Badger. I think Bell has just been a target hog, and I think Arizona State is not going to do very well this week.
Who are they playing?
Shoot. I think that's just a kind of for me, it's just they're not going to do well every week, but I'll double check who they're playing.
Yeah, but Badger has been good.
Fresno State. Badger's averaging 12 points a game. So I would go Jamal Bell and Jalen Watkins.
He was suspended for half a game, though.
That's true.
But yeah, I'm with you. I'll play Bell, but I think Badger's going to have a good season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, dude. The one game that he wasn't suspended, he went 3 for 80 and a touchdown, 2 carries for 21 yards, so over 100 total yards and a touchdown against Oklahoma State, which is probably one of the tougher defenses he's going to play.
That's fair. I'd love to see more than 6 targets, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
But I like Bell quite a bit. I'm starting him myself. And then I'll give you one personal question that I gave to a different podcast, and they answered. So we'll compare our answers if I can find it real quick. All right, this is full PPR running back question. You're going to pick one. You got Samson Evans against UMass, Kavorian Barnes against Army, and Jalen White against Wisconsin.
You start one?
Yep.
I'm doing the first guy against UMass.
Samson Evans, the Eastern Michigan running back. He's struggled in the first 2 weeks.
But he's had better defenses, right?
Yes. This is going to be the first.
UMass has a good running back too, but their defense is horrible. So I think your only fear there is that the game's slowed down a lot and he just doesn't get the touches. But I think Evans is I think we're having a reaction right now to him playing upper defenses because he's good and he's getting all the work.
Yeah, I think it definitely comes down to Evans and Kavorian Barnes, and I think you can make the case either direction. I think Army's been really
Barnes
bad against the run too.
But they're going to suck the clock, right? And even then, last week, he played Minnesota, Samson Evans did, and he ran for 6.6 yards a carry and got a couple of targets. And the game got
against Howard, he had 3.3 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Against FCS Howard.
That's another weird one. But I'm probably playing Evans, but Kavorian Barnes.
I ended up going with Barnes, so.
Yeah. That you're playing the talent
there
a little bit
more.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. I'm trying to revive the trade of the week. And if you got any. But I got one on the table right now. I got one that I did. So I'll tell you. To the one on the table, I'm looking for a quarterback, mostly for CFF, but I threw it out there to this guy. I was like, still have some interest in Klubnik. So he offered me Klubnik for James Cook. I don't like James Cook that much.
I don't like James Cook that much either, and I'd still rather have James Cook.
Yeah.
I don't think Klubnik helps you on the CFF side.
I know. I think that's the
And I'm
problem.
not
Unless he like plays a
sold.
lot better than he does now. I'm not sure that
Yeah.
like what we've seen of Klubnik is what Klubnik has to offer. I think he has played better in the past and can play better. That first game, Clemson, as a total, like the whole team was bad at everything. Like really, just like missed plays.
Are
Like
you competing on the NFL side?
no,
I might pull the trigger then. I don't think Cook's worth holding if you're not competing. I don't think he's a guy who's like locked into a starting job next year. And I think Klubnik could turn it around.
yeah. I guess my question is like, should I try to get a better quarterback for James Cook? Do you think I can? Do you think I can get someone that's actually going to help me win the CFF side this year, where I'm more competitive?
You could probably get a better pure CFF quarterback, yes. Could you get a better CFF quarterback that also could maybe play in the NFL? No.
Yeah, that's the question. The thing I like about Klubnik is despite him just like not playing well so far, he's very athletic. He could run. Did you see him run down that DB
Yeah.
on that touchdown? Dude, he was going like, I think he has like 4.5 speed at the quarterback position. Doesn't matter if he can't throw the ball, but all right.
Yeah,
Here's
I
the
mean,
other
I think
trick.
you could get like
Like
Cameron
would
Ward for James Cook, and you'd have
can I take down Bo Nix for James Cook?
no. You could maybe get Sam Hartman for James Cook.
I don't hate that. Sam Hartman will help me win.
Can't get Austin Reed. You can't get Shadur. You can't get Pratt. You could maybe get Pratt.
Maybe get Pratt. Maybe get Reed if the team's not competing. You know what I mean? If
they have Reed, they're competing.
If you need to competing, that's true. That's funny. The league I'm trying to do this in, my team is loaded at every other position, but I think that's the one I'm trying to start Taven Green in, or like EJ Warner, and like that's it. That's what I got. It's bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you could definitely get Cameron Ward, which I don't know if that's better or worse than Klubnik in a C2C. It's better in CFF, probably worse for Devy. Pratt is very similar, but probably even better for CFF. So,
Pratt's.
I like Pratt.
Pratt's a good idea, I think, because that might happen, and he might help me win the league on CFF. Whereas like Cade's.
You could go cheaper and try to sell a cheaper asset and try to get Cade on Salter. I bet the Joe Milton owner's not very happy right now, even though he's putting up points. I think he'll continue to put up points.
What's he averaging? Like 22, 23?
27 and born and raised. 27 and a half. QB 19.
That's pretty good.
Jaden Daniels, QB 17. Could be interesting.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels is great for CFF. That's a good idea. Might be good. Or even Jalen Daniels, right? Same thing. Jalen Daniels is coming off that injury, but he's going to score a shit ton of points for college.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You want to hear the other trade?
Yeah.
That's what I did. It's a league where I'm starting Hurts and Watson. I had Bryce Young burning a hole in my bench. So I traded Bryce Young and a supplemental 12th for Malachi Corley, Braylon Allen, Connor Wegman, and a 24 second in a supplemental.
I value young starting quarterbacks in the NFL very highly. I think those guys that actually pan out at that level are the ones that win you dynasty leagues. And Bryce Young's performance in week 1 wasn't inspiring.
I'm not trying to sell low on him.
It's 1 week.
If Wegman is a first round NFL pick, this is a win for me.
Yeah, I agree. But that's an if. That's like a pretty big if. I think
he's a third
Wegman's
round. But
I think Wegman's range of outcomes ranges from like just a good college quarterback to, top 15
Yeah,
pick.
it's a top
but
20 pick. Yeah.
I think it's very possible that he's just a good college quarterback.
Yeah. Corley should be an NFL player.
Yeah, and I think Braylon Allen
Who
looks
knows?
like he could be the RB1 in this class right now.
Yeah. So he could
considering
be the
how the
104
rest of the
in
players-
dynasty drafts.
Yeah.
You know.
So I don't hate it. I definitely think you got plenty of value back for Bryce Young. I think the value works itself out. I think Wegman is the risk, though.
Yeah, it's the risk because the upside and the downside is there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I only did this because I have 2 elite quarterbacks and I wanted to improve other. I basically have no running backs in that league. I just drafted every other position. So that's where I thought the value was. So having Braylon Allen next year will help me win the league.
That's very helpful
That's
for
right.
your CFF side, too. I think Brandon Allen and Malachi Corley are going to be 2 of the best players at their positions this year. So.
And I'm competing on that side. Actually, I think I was already in like 2nd or 4th place. So I'm a big that was the drive for this, was to get. He was looking for a quarterback, and I was like, all right, I want to win the college side. And I'm big on if I have a good team, I want to step on everyone's necks. I don't want to let someone catch up to me, right? I want to take assets away from other competing teams and crush my competitors. So.
Absolutely. It's the way to do it. I like it.
What you got? You make any trades this week?
No. Nobody likes trading. I don't want to give up my players. I drafted them for a reason.
We make a lot of trades. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. We'll see. So,
I don't know. I personally find it hard to have the time to send trades, and then I just don't usually receive them. So.
Yeah, I'll sit down and I'll fire off 5 or 6 offers when I want a player. But people in leagues with me know that I'm willing to trade if I'm getting something that helps me win, right? So I find that every league I'm in, I have 1 or 2 trade partners that'll be like this was Jordan Shutta, right? He knows I'll trade. He knows I want to win college. He doesn't want to win college. He wants to win NFL. So that makes a good trade partner, and I've got a young team and I'm good at other positions. So getting some running backs coming, and I'll have him and I'll have Rocket next year. So really that could be what makes my team compete on the NFL side. So, all right, homie. Well, this is fun.
'Twas.
You're in deep thought.
I just saw a trade that happened that did not involve me, and I'm confused.
Tell me about
confounded. I need to make sure I'm reading the sleeper message right, and I'm understanding what happened on the college side. Okay. Oh Lord, what the fuck? Okay. Cooper Kupp, a supplemental first and a supplemental second for Xavier Weaver, a supplemental first and a supplemental second.
Basically, someone traded Cooper Kupp for Xavier Weaver.
Yeah, with some pick swaps.
But you said the same rounds in the picks.
Yeah,
just
they are
moving
literally
up in the rounds.
swapping. They're taking.
Is it moving up to the 101?
I don't know. It's week 2. Let's see. He's getting. Well, he's giving the team he's trading with a good CFF asset. They're 2-0. They're just going to be good on CFF, and they're not going to get it. They're going to get a late.
So, and he swapped. So he's getting a shittier pick.
Probably.
But yeah, so the Kupp side's getting the shittier picks, right? That's how it should be.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You think that's how it should be?
Wait. You think Weaver's worth more than Kupp right now?
Wait, the Kupp side's
The
getting...
person that's sending Kupp is getting better picks and Xavier Weaver, right?
Yes.
Because the team they're giving Beaver
Okay.
to,
Yes. I see.
right?
Yes. And that actually very well could be the supplemental first. This team is not very
So
good.
that would make it make sense for me. Also, some people might just be done with Cup at this point, right? Like I kind of feel like he's sniffing that Michael Thomas kind of path, not in terms of like craziness and ego, but just with the injuries.
Michael Thomas scored 12 points last week.
Yeah, sweet. Is that what you want out of Cooper Cup? You happy with the 12 points from the guy you
I
traded
think
like a
he'll
first and a
age.
half for?
I think he'll age well. As long as he's healthy.
No, dude.
I think his play
he's not a
style
little guy.
isn't. I don't think his play style loses a ton when he loses some athleticism.
All right. I just say injuries, man. Injuries
That's
add
true.
up. You know. Okay. Well, time will tell, right?
Yeah, this
If
is
you
the
guys-
supplement. This is a supplemental top 3 pick.
Yeah. So that makes sense then. You're getting like one of the top 2 quarterbacks or a top skill position player at that point. It's a good quarterback class, right? There's at least 1-2 ballers, right?
It's not a great class. There's like one, I think.
There's a kid going to Georgia, right?
Raiola, yeah. And then like Aaron Noland, DJ Lagway. There's a really good wide receiver. I think Micah Hudson is like a lock, but yeah. I don't think it's a special class, but that's a different conversation we'll have later in the season.
This class is looking pretty good so far.
Yeah.
Everything except running back.
The running back in all of college football doesn't look very good.
Yeah, it's true.
kinda
The
disappointing right
2024 class has taken some big hits so far. I still think Rocket's fine. Just Henderson's a question mark at this point. He still gets day 2 capital unless he just bombs, but if he can't carry the ball 20 times, like, do you want him in Dynasty, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
Braylon Allen's the really only guy that's had a big riser. Jaquindon's back. He looks healthy. He looks good. He could work his way into round 3.
No. Don't see that one happening myself. Hey, Will Shipley looks good. Nobody seems to care about that.
Dude, I've been like the only Shipley supporter for the past couple of years.
Shipley's
I've always
in my
had
top
him
10.
as a top 4 back. What?
Shipley's been in my top 10 for all of Devy.
He just, he's explosive. He runs the ball well, and he's an excellent receiver out of the backfield. What the hell else do you want out of a running back? You know what I mean? I think it's a shiny new toy thing with all the other guys, right? But I don't get the people that are like, oh, Shipley, oh, just compiler. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? He's explosive. He's like a high-level athlete. He's going to fucking smash at the combine, and he catches a ton of passes and looks smooth doing it, right? Like,
Yeah.
so.
All right, let's call it, I think.
Call it a night.
Good
We appreciate
episode.
all you guys. Oh, please follow us, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and we appreciate you all. And next week, let's get some more questions in. We appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, we'd love to answer them.
Love to be helpful.